Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. Malaysia is moving towards electric vehicles to reduce carbon emission and fight climate change. The government has introduced many initiatives like tax exemption and a lower road tax to encourage people to use EVs. Their goals is to reach 30% EV usage in the next 10 years. However, that's a problem. Even though the plans are strong, but the real issue is the lack of the charging stations on highways. In cities, it's manageable, but for long distance travel, it's become difficult.
Malaysia aims to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. Therefore, there are several flagship projects that support the implementation of the key levers. For example, under the Energy Efficiency Lever (EE), the efficient switch modality includes initiatives such as the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Act. Next, the following flagship project is Renewable Energy Zone, also known as RE Zone. A pilot RE zone will be established involving an industrial park and a zero carbon city to serve as a model for future green cities. This shows Malaysia's effort to integrate renewable energy across sectors and support the 70% renewable energy target by 2050. Building a reliable EV network across Malaysian highway isn't just about plugging in a few chargers. It is a massive coordinated puzzle. To make the low carbon mobility blueprint and the National Energy Transition Roadmap and ETR a reality, an entire ecosystem of stakeholders has to work in a perfect scene. Let's break down who is actually driving this green transformation. At the very top, steering the entire ship is the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, or MITI. Under the National Automotive Policy NAP 2020, MITI was handed the massive responsibility of coordinating Malaysian next generation vehicle ecosystem. MITI doesn't do this alone. They led the National Electric Vehicle Task Force and EVTF. Backed by the new Industrial Master Plan 2030, this task force has a strict mandate, which is to monitor and unlock the path to hitting our national macro target, specifically ensuring we deploy those crucial 1,000 charging stations across the country. So they are the policy mastermind. But policy on paper doesn't equal charges on the ground. That is where the physical execution comes in. Enter the Malaysian Highway Authority (LMM) and highway concessionaries like Plus Malaysian Berhad. According to the government official pro-EV approval guidelines, there is a strict division of labour here. Plus manage the physical space, parking bays, and traffic safety inside the bustling R&R area. Meanwhile, LMM acts as the center coordinator, reviewing and approving the development of the concept. But a fast charger useless without a massive electrical power. This is where the Tenaga Nasional Berhad entered the frame as a Peninsula Malaysian sole unity provider. Through a massive RM90 million strategic partnership between TNB and Plus, TNB is actively upgrading the national grid and localized substation. High voltage fast charger draw immense power, and initiatives like TNB Electron ensure our highway grid won't buckle under the demand. So from the high-level policy room of MITI to the concrete R&R base managed by LNM and Plus, and down to the high-voltage electrical cable laid by the TNB, every single link in this chain is matter. This is unified front, what from the ultimate drive Malaysia towards its carbon-neutral aspirations. So, the next time you spot an EV chargers on the highway, remember, it is not just a plastic pillar. It is actually a result of an incredible complex multi-stakeholder alliance. The steering committee consists of key stakeholders such as Bank Negara Malaysia (BNM), Tenaga Nasional Berhad (TNB), and Sustainable Energy Development Authority (SEDA). BNM supports the transition through green financing initiative and the green taxonomy, which help channel investment into low carbon projects. Meanwhile, TNB plays a key role in upgrading grid infrastructure and supporting EV charging networks. While SEDA, on the other hand, promotes renewable energy adoption through incentive mechanisms and supports the development of green energy infrastructure, including EV charging facilities. The involvement of these authorities are very significant, encompassing relevant perspectives in smoothing an ETR. Malaysia wants more electric vehicles on the road, but building charger stations on highway faces two big problems. The first problem is electricity. To charge a car fast, these stations need a lot of power. But most electricity substations at all highway rest area R&R were built a long time ago, so they cannot handle a sudden huge demand for energy. The second problem is money. For private companies, buying and installing just one fast charger costs hundreds of thousands of ringgit. This is a very high starting cost. Compounding this high capital expenditure is a seasonal utilization trap. Highways charges demand peak severely during festive season and school holidays, but drop drastically on the normal working weekdays. This means companies do not get their money back quickly, so they prefer to put charges in a busy cities like the Kelang Valley where they can make money every day, instead of on a long highway where they might lose money.
One of the strongest indicators of an effective strategic plan is whether it contributes to broader national and global development objectives. In this case, both the LCMB and NETR demonstrate strong alignment with the Sustainable Development Goals, commonly known as the SDG. So our analysis shows that these plans directly support three key goals. The first is SDG 7, which is affordable and clean energy. The NETR promotes the expansion of renewable energy capacity and aims to achieve 70% renewable energy installed capacity by the year 2050. This supports the transition towards cleaner energy sources that can power future mobility systems. The second is SDG 9, Industry Innovation and Infrastructure. As EV adoption continues to grow, charging infrastructure becomes important. Both strategic plans encourage the expansion of charging stations and the development of a comprehensive low carbon mobility ecosystem. This helps address infrastructure gaps while promoting innovation within the transportation sector. The third is SDG 13, Climate Action. Electric vehicle reduce dependence on conventional fuel power vehicle and contribute to lower greenhouse gas emissions, supporting Malaysia's decarbonization efforts and long-term climate commitments. Our second finding concerned the clarity of national targets and strategic direction. One of the challenges in developing the EV industry is the need for long-term planning and coordination among multiple stakeholders. However, both the LCMB and NETR provide specific objective, implementation mechanism, and measurable targets. The NETR identifies green mobility as an important pathway towards transport decarbonization. The LCMB outlines strategies to increase low carbon mobility through policy incentive, infrastructure development, and stakeholder collaboration.
The first issue is high infrastructure cost in expanding EV infrastructure. Under the SCMB and NEETR policies, the government aims to encourage more people to adopt EVs and increase the number of charging stations across Malaysia. In fact, the target is to have 10,000 charging points by 2025. However, achieving this target is not easy because developing EV infrastructure requires a huge amount of investment such as installation and maintenance of DC fast charger. These chargers are important because they can reduce concern about charging accessibility, yet they require high power capacity and cooling system. Moving on to the next issue, which is consumer hesitation and coordination problems. Although the government is trying to boost EV adoption and improve charging infrastructure, there are still several challenges. Firstly, many consumers are still hesitant to switch to EVs, even though interest in EVs is increasing. The actual number of EVs owners in Malaysia is still relatively low. Coordination between different parties can sometimes slow down the development of charging infrastructure. Therefore, besides financial challenges, consumer confidence and better coordination among stakeholders are also important to ensure the success of EV adoption in Malaysia.
After evaluating the LCMB and NETR, we identify several areas where improvement can be made. The first recommendation is the establishment of a national EV highway coverage framework. So current initiative has successfully expanded charging infrastructure. However, development remains concentrated in economically profitable routes. This indicates that charging infrastructure is being developed according to commercial demand rather than national connectivity needs. So as a result, EV users traveling through less developed corridors may face difficulties accessing charger facilities. Under this framework, minimum charging coverage standards would be established based on highway distance, traffic volume, and regional connectivity. So undeserved highway corridors would be identified and prioritized to ensure a more balanced distribution of charging infrastructure across the country. Our second recommendation focuses on improving user accessibility through a unified EV charging information system. So while current policies emphasize increasing the number of charging stations, the effectiveness of the network also depends on the availability of accurate and real-time information. So at present, EV users rely on separate applications operated by different charging providers. These create inconveniences for drivers, especially during long distance journeys. As EV adoption continues to increase, access to reliable information becomes just as important as physical infrastructure. Therefore, Malaysia should develop a centralized real-time charging information system that integrates data from all charging service providers into a single platform. The system could provide information on charger locations, availability, charging speed, and estimated waiting times, allowing drivers to make informed decisions before reaching a charging station. The recombination is also practical because Malaysia already possesses the necessary digital infrastructure. Rather than creating entirely a new ecosystem, existing platforms and data can be integrated into one unified system.
So, in the end, Malaysia has a strong plan to support EV adoption and reduce carbon emissions. However, the challenges like limited charging stations and high costs still slow down the progress. Improving charging station and providing better information system can help increase public confidence. Overall, Malaysia is on the right track, but better implementation is needed for to achieve a long-term success. So your planet, your community, your news. This has been Group 2. Thank you.